The quorum of voters being present, it is my distinct pleasure to call to order the 2026 Tewksbury Annual Town Meeting. My name is Dustin Weir, and I am privileged to serve as town moderator this evening. Let the record show that a properly served and returned warrant is in possession. Please rise for a Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence respecting the loss in the last year of members of our community. Thank you. Please be seated. May I have the chair of the select board, Mr. Eric Ryder, please come to the podium for his announcements for items of general interest to the assembly.
Good evening. At this time, I would like to recognize Chief Ryan Columbus. The Commission for Social Justice, Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, presented Chief Ryan M. Columbus with the Law Enforcement Award this weekend, recognizing his professionalism and his continuous commitment and dedication to excellence in the field of law enforcement. The Commission, which is dedicated to promoting equality, respect, and opportunity for all while combating discrimination and harmful stereotypes, highlighted Chief Columbus's leadership and service as reflective of those values. In their recognition, they noted Chief Columbus's lifelong connection to Tewksbury, his rise through the ranks of the department, and his ongoing efforts to strengthen community trust through initiatives focused on outreach, officer wellness, and professional development. Please join us in congratulating Chief Columbus on this well-deserved honor. I would also like to congratulate Chief Kearns and Chief Columbus on their hard work over the last couple weeks dealing with the state hospital issues. Thank you again, both. We have a couple other announcements. The DPW open house and ribbon cutting in the Northern Middlesex Regional Communications Center will be having an open house on May 20th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony. The parade will start at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the ceremony starts at 10 a.m. at the Tewksbury Cemetery. The parade begins at Town Hall, continues to Livingston Street along Main Street. I'd like to thank the Patriotic Committee for all the work they do to host this event each year, and thank our Veterans Office Service Agent conducting the ceremony and the VFW Post 8164 for participating in the day's events. I'd also like to thank the Garden Club for all the work they do on the flowers around Town Hall. And I'd also like to talk about the Letter Carriers Food Drive, Saturday, May 9th. It's approaching that time of year again. The Tewksbury Community Food Pantry is conducting their largest food drive event that will stock up the pantry to support the community and their clients. This May 9th is the annual Letter Carrier Food Drive. Be on the lookout for a yellow plastic bag that should be dropped off with your mail sometime before the 9th. You can fill the bag with non-perishable items. Please be sure the items are within the freshness date. And leave that bag at your mailbox the morning of the 9th, and the letter carriers will pick it up while they drop off your mail. Thank you, and have a good evening.
May I have the chair of the school committee, Ms. Bridget Garabedian, please come to the podium for her announcements for items of interest to the assembly.
Good evening. Just a few things I'd like to share about the schools tonight. For our graduation for our high school seniors, that'll be held on June 5th this year, followed by the All Night Long, which will be sponsored by the High School PAC. Our last day for all Tewksbury Public School students is on June 18th. We'd like to welcome the entire community to be invited to visit the district-wide art show. It's our 42nd annual. It'll be held here at Tewksbury High School. All of our students from preschool to seniors will have their art set up here in the lobby. on Friday, May 8th from 7 to 9 p.m., and on Saturday, May 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll notice there'll be some changes to the table over at the school committee. This year, Superintendent Brenda Terrio-Regan is retiring after 26 years of service and 5 years as superintendent, and 8 years as assistant superintendent, and 3 years as high school principal. So that'll be a departure for her. We will be welcoming Dr. Nancy Milligan on July 1st, and our business manager, Dave Libby, also after 30 years of service. This is also his last and final town meeting. We also welcome you to all stop by the baseball field located at the TMHS campus. The money that was secured here at town meeting last year and the work done on the infield looks lovely, and we welcome you all to come look at it because it was great work, and we'd like to thank you all for those funds. So that's our update for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Tewksbury Annual Town Meeting. As we begin our meeting, I want to take a moment to talk about the ground rules. Town meeting is a legislative body for our community where we work together to debate the merits of the articles within the warrant before you. Please take a moment to refer to the glossary of terms on page 70 of the supplemental handout. Because Tewksbury has an open town meeting, each registered voter in Tewksbury is eligible to act on fiscal issues, zoning changes, bylaw amendments, and other matters affecting the town. Voters must wear their voting ribbon conspicuously to be counted during standing votes. Please ensure that it is on your person, not your jacket. This meeting is being recorded. As we move through the articles, presenters or sponsors of the articles will be allowed to speak first before I open the floor to debate. A voter desiring to speak should approach the microphone in the middle of the floor, await recognition by me, and identify yourself when recognized by the name and address for the record. I ask members of the boards to do the same. Each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes to speak on an article. Please speak clearly into the microphone so the body can hear you. It's harder than you think. You have to get very close. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left on your time by tapping the podium. When you hear that tapping, that is your signal to wrap up your remarks. Speakers can disagree with any official, with any other voter, volunteer, or any board. We have a strong tradition in Tewksbury of maintaining a respectful dialogue during town meeting. I will do everything I can to ensure that each speaker is shown the respect and that your questions are answered. I ask that all participants kindly do the same. Residents refusing to conduct themselves in a manner befitting this body will be asked to cede the floor and potentially be escorted from the meeting. I hope I don't have to enforce that rule. Let's work together to address the issues before the body fairly and effectively. I will accept a motion to move the question. However, I reserve the right to make sure we have had some dialogue about the motion. All questions on the floor are to be directed to the moderator. If you are amending an article, you must present it to the town clerk in writing. We will move on the amendment first. If the amendment passes, it will then become part of the main motion, and we will discuss it. If the amendment does not pass, then we will go back to the main motion as it is written in the warrant. When you came in tonight, you were given the warrant with the articles we will be discussing, along with the handout with the Finance Committee recommendations. That's the yellow one. And a supplemental information booklet from the town manager with detailed explanations for several articles and funds. Scrivener's errors are also noted in that document. At this time, please silence your cell phones and ensure your voter ribbon is showing so that counters can easily see when we do standing counts. We will do a standing count. When we do a standing count, it is important that you pay attention to your counter and sit down once counted. Your counter will nod to you when you are counted. If we have anyone in the auditorium who is not a registered voter here in Tewksbury, I wish to welcome you to town meeting and hope that you enjoy this process. Visitors may attend the meeting and sit only in the reserved for visitors section. Media may sit in the visitors section or at the press table. For all of you that attend faithfully, I thank you for your continued presence this evening and your commitment to and involvement in this community. Sitting up here are the various boards of the town with elected and appointed members, including the Select Board, the Town Council, the Planning Board, the Board of Health, department heads, the Finance Committee, the School Committee, Library Trustees, and Shawshene Technical School Committee, and the Housing Authority. Please allow me to introduce the Chairman of the Finance Committee, Richard Levasseur. Mr. Levasseur will make the first motion on every article unless the Finance Committee defers to another board. Mr. Levasseur, may I hear a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles?
Mr. Moderator, I move to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
All those in favor of waiving the reading of the warrant articles, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Non-voters are not allowed to address the meeting without prior consent. Typically, we hear from non-voters who are employees, volunteers, or advisors of the town. Mr. Levasseur, may I have a motion to permit the following persons to address the meeting? Non-voter appointed members of any town or regional committees or task forces, non-voter employees of the town of Tewksbury, including the Tewksbury Public Schools and Town Council.
Mr. Moderator, I move to allow certain anticipated non-residents to speak on issues including Assistant Town Manager Robert Maven, Fire Chief Joe Burns, School Business Manager Dave Libby, DPW Director Kevin Hardeman, Town Engineer Andrew Stack, Town Council Kevin Feely, and others, some of whom may be asked to answer resident questions.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
His name is not on.
I didn't catch his name. I'm sorry. Okay, it's on the McIntosh. Hearing no opposition to the motion, we have the motion is adopted. Apparently, I missed somebody. At this time in the introduction, I feel it's appropriate. That is Lieutenant Tony McIntosh? Superintendent Tony McIntosh? Okay. Mr. Levasseur, would you care to make a motion to allow Superintendent Tony McIntosh to speak?
Mr. Moderator, I move to allow Superintendent of Shawshene Tech Tony McIntosh to speak.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion passes as well. If there are any other non-voters with us tonight, they may only speak upon further motion and consent of the meeting. If you are a visitor to town meeting and would like to speak on an article during the debate, please come to the microphone, introduce yourself with your name and address, and it will hold a brief vote before you begin. Non-voters, if you are currently seated in the voters section, please relocate to the visitors section at this time. Please note tonight's agenda covers Articles 1 through 25, as well as consent calendar Articles 3, 26, 27, and 3-28. This is a single night annual town meeting. The special town meeting will be held this Wednesday, May 6th at 7:00 p.m., also at Tewksbury Memorial High School. Article 1. The annual town election was held April 11th, 2026. 1,709 registered voters, accounting for 6.7% of registered voters in the town, cast ballots in the election. Elected this year were John Lombardo to the Select Board, Ryan Lloyd to the School Committee, Jonathan Chiampa and Stephen Johnson to the Planning Board, Christine Janizak to the Board of Health, Kathy Dwyer and Jessica Rousseau to the Board of Library Trustees, Mark DeFruscia to the Housing Authority, and Dustin Weir as moderator. Since these town officers were chosen during the election, the town meeting does not vote on Article 1. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to fix salaries of several elected officials for the fiscal year 2027. Mr. Levasseur, may I have the first motion on Article 2?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 2.
Do I see anyone standing to debate Article 2? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 2, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 2 passes unanimously, is adopted unanimously. This brings us to the three articles on the consent calendar. Article 326, accept the annual report. Article 3-27, lease/purchase agreements, and Article 3-28, reauthorize revolving funds. Mr. Levasseur, do we have a motion on the consent calendar articles?
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt the consent calendar articles 327 and 328.
Thank you, Mr. Levasseur. I will call out the numbers of the articles one by one. If any voter objects to any particular article being included in the consent calendar, they should say the word hold when the number is called. The article is then removed from the consent calendar and restored to its original numbered place in the warrant. After calling the individual items, I will hold a vote on all remaining items as a unit. Again, say hold if you wish to hold one of these articles and return it to its original place. Article 3-26. Hearing none. Article 3-27. Hearing none. Article 3-28. Hearing none. We will now vote on the adoption of the consent calendar articles in 3-26, 3-27, and 3-28 as a unit. All those in the favor of adopting Article 3, all three consent calendar items, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Could I confirm that opposition? Did I get one vote in opposition? I'm not hearing anyone vote against the consent calendar at this point. So the consent calendars 326, 327, and 328 were adopted unanimously. Article 4. Article 4 on page 7 of your warrant contains our proposed annual budget. For expediency of debate, I will read the titles of each section in order. If anyone wishes to debate the contents of a particular section, please reply with debate when the title is read. We will then debate the sections in order. When the debate on all sections is concluded, we will proceed with amendments and vote on Article 4. Section General Government, page 7 of the warrant. Section Finance Department, page 8. Community Services, page 9. Council on Aging, page 9. Facilities, page 10. Library, page 10. Planning and Development, page 10. Public Safety, page 11. School Departments, page 11.
Hold for amendment.
Department of Public Works, pages 12 to 13. And unclassified items, page 14. I did hear one hold for debate on school departments, page 11. Mr. Lavassier, would you care to present your amendment? I have. I have presented an article, an amendment from the Finance Committee in writing. The amendment says to amend Article 4 to change the Shawshene Regional Vocational School fiscal year 2027 department requested amount to $3,750,000, reflecting 5/12 of the fiscal year 2026 budgeted amount and adjust the total school departments and total general fund budget total accordingly. So what that means, if you turn to page 11 in your warrant, at the third line from the bottom, there's a figure under fiscal year 2027 department request. Currently, the figure is $9,560,993. The amendment would change that figure to $3,750,000. That figure in the totals would cascade down through the total school departments on the bottom of page 11, and then of course the annual town meeting general fund budget on page 14.
Could you repeat that again?
Say that again?
Could you repeat what you just said?
Sure. Make sure you speak directly into the microphone. Page 11, the amendment will modify on the third line from the bottom. Fiscal year 2027 column, the middle column, third line from the bottom, currently says $9,560,993. That number would be changed to $3,750,000. Two lines down from that, that would be adjust this total school departments line, and then 2 pages over the total amount. The amendment does not specify the exact figures, but the difference would cascade down through. Any other clarifying questions on the amendment before we start debate? Okay. I'll now open the floor to debate on the amendment. Would the amendment sponsor or representative of the Finance Committee care to address the amendment for the first 5 minutes?
Mr. Moderator, residents of Tewksbury, I speak to you tonight regarding the Finance Committee's serious concerns over the fiscal management at Joshua. I want to begin to be very clear. The Finance Committee wants Joshua to succeed. We recognize that for over 60 years, this school has been a cornerstone of our community, providing vital vocational training and a path to high-paying careers for thousands of Tewksbury students. We believe in the school's mission, and we wanted to thrive for another 60 years. However, no institution can succeed, and no mission can be sustained if its financial foundation is in disarray. For an extended period, various reports and audits have indicated significant recurring issues within their budget and cash flow operations. These include multiple unreconciled internal accounts and unresolved financial discrepancies, problems that have persisted for far too long. The towns in the district have all raised many of the same questions that we have. This instability is further evidenced by a revolving door of leadership in the finance department. The school has seen multiple budget directors in just the last few years alone. As a member of your Finance Committee, our primary responsibility is the stewardship of your tax dollars. We have met repeatedly with Shawsheet's administrators and school committee members to seek clarity. To date, most of the critical questions remain unanswered. Currently, the state is conducting an audit of the FY25 budget. This audit began 10 months ago and has yet to produce results. This delay is a significant red flag, and it is a concern shared by our colleagues on finance committees across the district. We are not alone in our lack of confidence. There is a regional consensus that the district's systemic fiscal issues need to be addressed. We are taking this stand tonight because we believe that business as usual is the greatest threat to Shawshene Tech's success. If the district cannot manage its current $40 million operating budget with transparency, it risks losing the public's trust for much larger building renovation projects that the school desperately needs. We believe the taxpayers of Tewksbury deserve better accountability for the millions of dollars we send to the district. Consequently, after careful consideration, the Finance Committee voted not to support the current budget request of $9,993.
Thank you.
And yet, our goal is to not hinder Shawshene, but to help them reach a standard of professional excellence that matches the talent of its students and teachers. The district must demonstrate that it has a standard operating procedure in place to properly account for the tax dollars it receives. The Finance Committee needs to see a comprehensive written plan with clear milestones, implementation dates, and a commitment to monthly progress reports before we, in good conscience, recommend the appropriation of these tax dollars.
Thank you. Pardon the interruption. Thank you, Mr. Levasseur. Debate on the amendment to the article. I go to the floor. Please introduce yourself one more time.
Tony McIntosh, Superintendent Director, Shawshene Valley Technical School.
Mr. McIntosh.
With all due respect to the Finance Committee, the determination of assessments to our sending communities lies solely with the Shawshene Tech School Committee under Chapter 71, Section 16B. So any modification to the assessment that's been voted on by the school committee is essentially a no vote for our budget. Again, please don't take that in the wrong demeanor. I just want people to be informed. A vote for the $3,750,000 is essentially a no from the town of Tewksbury. The law does not allow individual towns to make changes to the assessment. Like I said, that authority lies with the 10-member board that governs Shawshene Valley Technical High School. I would like to, secondly, to respond to some of the comments from the chair. We know we have problems. We've made changes starting back early last fall. We've worked through the current fiscal year with a part-time interim contract business manager. It has not been easy. We have brought on a district treasurer. We have implemented a process in-house of monthly reports to all the school committee members. We are trying to follow through and put those standard operating procedures in place. Again, we had 3 or 4 years of some difficulties. We are doing our best to fix those, and we are responding to that criticism. And again, we are trying to meet those expectations. It's just going to take us time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Muse, if you would introduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, Patricia Muse, 551 South Street, School Committee of Shawshing Tech School Committee. I need a little help here because I would like it to make a motion to bring it back to the full amount of $9,560,993.
So the warrant is currently at the roughly 9.5 million that everybody has in here. The amendment itself is what we're debating.
Okay.
And that is not
So
yet
I would
adapted.
suggest we vote no for this amendment.
If any of you would like to maintain the existing budget as printed in the warrant, you would first vote no in the vote that I call for in the amendment. That will
Right.
maintain the 9.5 million figure, and then we will move on to voting on the entire budget from there.
So I would vote no for the amendment and just, yes, we have made some mistakes, or there have been some things that have happened because we had inexperienced people working with us. But to say that we have had multiple budget directors, we had a business manager for 23 years. This last business manager was only there for 3 years. And we've addressed the problem. We're hiring a brand new business manager in a week. And there was no money missing. And for them, I went to a meeting earlier and they said for the last 5 years, they've noticed problems with our budget. This year was the first time we were told there's problems with our budget, and we already knew. We didn't know it was with this budget, it was with an earlier budget, because we had to take money out of last year's budget. We had put money for the feasibility study in last year's budget, and unfortunately, our E&D, which is an account, did not come in at that amount, so therefore, that raised the flag that said, oh, they don't know how to manage their money. That was a mistake that was made, and we're fixing it. And I've been on this committee for 32 years. We had great budgets for all those years. Our audits were excellent. So to say, well, they want us to report to the finance committee now all the time. No, we are elected officials. We know the budget is ours, and we take, I take responsibility. I took responsibility right off the bat when they said, who's responsible for this? There's 10 members. We all have different minds, but it's working out, and we need that money for our kids to do well in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Muse.
Maureen Castiglione, 1098 Whipple Road.
Please proceed.
I just want to say I'm not in support of this amendment. I'm a parent of a senior at the Tech, so I really have no skin in the game in about 4 weeks. But I have been the most active and involved person in the Tewksbury school system and in the other school systems I've been in. And I have to say, it is horribly offensive that you're cutting 2/3 of the money for the Tech because you're not sending 2/3 less. Tewksbury is one of the 3 biggest districts, although Bedford's numbers did go up this year with the lottery system, but the numbers all basically stayed the same. And I have to look at this and say, you come to me all the time. Can we have a new school? Can we have a new high school? We've got a motion later tonight about a new high school. It's not right. You shouldn't screw the kids. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jonathan Champa, 21 Susan Drive. So question for town council through the chair, or through the moderator, sorry. Can you just verify Mr. McIntosh's statement that a vote for this amendment is essentially a vote to not fund the Tewksbury's obligation of the Shawshene Tech budget?
Mr. Feely, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would concur with the superintendent's characterization that unless you fund the full requested amount, it is considered a rejection of the budget. There is a statutory system in place that if a certain number of communities reject the budget, then the school committee, it's incumbent upon the school committee to revise its budget and come back with a new budget for the town to consider. I don't want to put words into the Finance Committee's mouth, but I believe the motion that they made was intended as a bridge to see what happens with the other communities' budget process.
Thank you. Question for the question for the Finance Committee through the moderator.
Sir.
So you had referenced that you're not alone in this, that the other finance committees of the other towns are feeling the same way about where Shawshene Tech is with its finances, its budget, and its transparency. What exactly are you looking for from Shawshene Tech so that we can get back in each other's good graces here?
Would anyone from the Finance Committee?
So what we're asking for, sorry, I could have just not used the microphone. What we're asking for is a budget that actually makes sense. Unfortunately, if you watched, and we're probably the only people that have paid attention to what's going on in the other receiving town or sending towns, Wilmington just had their town meeting. Scott Neville spoke very eloquently at the town meeting from their Finance Committee about the 4 flaws of the current budget. And to be clear, the reason our amendment says 5/12 of the budget is because it gets us to the fall town meeting where we would hope that a more appropriate budget would be presented to us that we could vote on. We're not looking to shut the school down. We're not looking to screw the students, as was said. The students are being screwed right now because they have a school committee who have been on for many years, who have reviewed many budgets, but were evidently asleep at the wheel for the last few years. To say there's no missing money when there's at least $900,000 of their free cash account that isn't accounted for isn't a disgrace on us. And quite frankly, the fact that 5 different finance committees and ways and means committees have had to spend the amount of time we've had to spend to try to understand the budget presented that doesn't make any sense because it just doesn't reconcile in any meaningful way is offensive to us. It's offensive to our town. So yes, we are the 2nd largest sending community, which is why we are being asked to spend $9.5 million to support this when we don't have the answers to any of the questions. So what we would be asking is they review their budget. Hopefully the state audit comes back and addresses whatever concerns. They supposedly have engaged an independent auditor who's also giving them recommendations that hopefully they're finally following. They can get a new business manager in place, which, as an aside, no one from Tewksbury is on that committee selecting that person. So we again have concerns that the same people who put us in this situation 3 years ago are continuing to make that decision. And then we can move forward. And hopefully we can move forward together. And it won't be so offensive when a finance committee has the audacity to ask questions about a budget that doesn't make sense. We've also asked and hope that in the meantime, they'd be open to some things as an advisory committee with 1 member of a finance or ways and means committee from pending town, so that we don't get in this situation again, so that we're not kind of blindsided. Because the reality is we're gonna rubber stamp the budget as presented to us. What's our function? What's our purpose? What are we supposed to be doing to represent you, the taxpayers? And that's what they're basically telling us to do. And if you listen to their school committee meeting, I think it was April 27th, I was offended. I was offended that I've spent so much time then trying to figure out what they're doing, and there was not any remorse. There was not any accountability. It was basically they needed to just adjust their pitch better so that we would just fall in line like we've always done.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I have a follow-up question for our town council.
If
As
you wouldn't mind, we have burned through the 5 minutes. You can get back in line. I want to move on if that question still remains after we continue the debate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, Nanita Hiller, 100 Breckenridge Road. So I had a question regarding like what the budget was for the vocational school for like the past 5 years. Because like looking at this, I can see 2025, 2026, 2027. But I would like to just have an idea of like, just like flat like millions, like what the past budgets have been. If anybody has like a quick answer to that.
Anyone from the, I don't have those figures. Myself as a moderator, I don't know if anyone from the Finance Committee or Shawshene Tech Committee. I don't think they're, seeing nobody volunteer, I don't think they have those figures. Yes, sir, Mr. Curran.
That's an excellent question. That's something I was looking for in their budget presentation, in their budget book, and it's not in there, and I think that's an issue. Doesn't show the history. You see the history of the assessments from this year to last year, which is helpful, but there is no history or context about what their budget was in the last 5 years. We know their budget was $44 million for this year. What was it in the last 5 years? If you look at the town's budget book, you see all that information.
Thank you, Mr. Curran. Any further questions?
And then my second question is, if we accept this amendment, this would just be the standing budget until we can reapproach this in fall, is that correct? Okay, thank you.
To be clear, I heard from the Finance Committee the word correct.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, Tony McIntosh, Superintendent Director, Shawshene Tech. I would just like to say, to date, 2 of our sending communities have held town meetings. The town of Bedford has voted to approve our budget request for FY27 and has voted to support the feasibility study. I was in Wilmington on Saturday. I heard the comments from Mr. Neville. Wilmington also voted to approve our budget for FY27 and approved the funding for the feasibility study. I would like to say the only finance committee that I've heard from about instituting some of these changes directly has been Burlington. And again, the conversation was with them as we are open to making these changes and meeting people part way. But again, we need that two-way open communication in order for us to address those issues. So I did just want to respond to those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Next in line, yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, if you would.
Hi, Taylor Goodrow at 100 Breckenridge Road. I have a couple of questions for the Finance Committee. So if we vote yes on the amendment and it funds it through the fall, what exactly are we looking for? Like, I understand that there's an audit that they're hoping to get information from, but if the audit doesn't provide any information, like, does Tewksbury have a list of requirements that they're looking at in order to fully authorize the budget? And then if we do vote yes on the amendment, like, what are the ramifications for that if they don't come through? Like, does Tewksbury just not fund it at all, and then we don't send any students there? Like, I just don't know the details of it.
Okay, so question in 2 parts. I like to read them back in the microphone. Around what are the consequences of reducing the amount, and help me clarify in a little more succinct terms.
Yeah, it was like, what are the consequences of voting yes, which would reduce it, because it sounds like that would be a no vote, and then what is Tewksbury looking for specifically?
And what are we looking for?
Yeah,
okay,
so because it's just a little vague right now. Like, I understand the Finance Committee says, you know, they need accountability, but what does that actually look like?
Okay. Wonder if Mr. Feely, if you would want to handle the first part. What are the consequences? If that's okay. What are the consequences of reducing the amount and adopting the amendment at hand? And then I'll move over to Rich to answer the second part.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That's a very good question, and it's a bit of an unknown because we don't know how the other member communities are going to vote. So as the superintendent correctly referenced, there is a statutory process to follow whenever you're dealing with a regional school district's budget. Essentially, 2/3 of the communities have to approve the budget. If two-thirds of the communities do not approve the budget, then the school committee has 30 days to submit a new budget that is supposed to take into account concerns that were raised. If there still is no budget as of July 1, then the State Department of Education has the authority to order a 1/12 budget to be implemented until the budget is resolved. Ultimately, it will be resolved one way or the other. So that's one path. The other path is, if in fact the budget as presented by the school committee is passed by 2/3 of the member school districts, then in that case, Tewksbury will be obligated to fund its assessment based on the budget submitted by the regional district school committee. So so where we stand today, there's an unknown direction because we don't know what the other communities are going to do.
Can I ask just a quick follow-up to that?
Sure.
When you say if 2/3 of the communities vote yes, and then it sounds like that forces the obligation of the other communities to then fund that budget. So even if we were to vote yes on the amendment, if the other 2/3 of the communities accepted the budget as proposed, Tewksbury would still be needing to pay the full proposed budget. Is that correct?
Correct. Our assessment, the town would be obligated to pay, so that would mean a subsequent town meeting would essentially be compelled in accordance with the district agreement to fund its full share.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, we do want to squeeze in that last bit. We've got about 1 minute left. If somebody from the Finance Committee would like to answer the question, what are you looking for?
I apologize for the vague answer, but unfortunately you cannot share in the frustration we've had for the last 2 months in getting vague answers from Shawshene Tech and being told we should have that information, but we don't have it yet. What we want to see is the significant deficiencies that have already been identified in the audit that they had done be addressed. We want to see what the state finds in their 2025 audit and have that be addressed. And we want to be presented with a budget that actually calculates and makes sense. So that we're not being told that it's only a 2% increase when it's really a 6% increase. Those are the things we'd be looking for to start with. Obviously, we'd have more information when we get more information.
Just a really quick follow-up. Where would someone like me find the information of the deficiencies that you're talking about in terms of where that public information has been shared?
If you watch our meetings that the Shawshene Tech came to, you would see the questions and the information that they chose to share with us, but we don't have access to that full information, and it's one of the concerns is that we're getting what they want to share, but we're not getting full transparency right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Again, Jonathan Champa, 21 Susan Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler.
So, again, a question for the town council. If we agree here tonight to fund 5/12 of the budget, how does that work? Is Shawshene Tech allowed to accept a conditional funding predicated on what? Because we don't really have, as part of this amendment, an established criteria, which I would hope the Finance Committee, if that criteria was met, would that bring to town meeting in October and say that they're satisfied and they recommend funding the remainder of the budget. So even if we agree with the Finance Committee 100%, and I agree with the spirit of what they're trying to do here, without a doubt, but does that matter at all? If funding the budget conditionally, does that still count as a no vote?
Mr. Feely, yes, please. Does funding the budget conditionally or partially count as a no vote?
Yes, it counts as a no vote. So it will be deemed that Tewksbury has rejected the regional school district's submitted budget. Now, but it will have, to answer what I think was the second part of your question, it will have appropriated an amount of money for the purpose of funding the school district. But no one, I don't believe anyone has any misconception, should have any misconception. There will need to be, at some point, a subsequent town meeting vote to fully fund a budget for the, for Shawshene.
Okay. And is it fair to say that even if somehow accepting this amendment, partially funding the Shawshene budget for 5/12ths, but then if we came back in the October town meeting and there had been no increase in transparency, no information from any audits or anything like that, assuming the finance committee at that point is saying, well, nothing's improved, we still don't recommend provisioning the remainder of the budget, now we have kids in school and we're pulling our funding, which I'm assuming leaves us with some kind of nuclear option, which basically our kids would be locked out of the school, but mid-year.
Yes, please, Mr. Feely.
I don't believe that should be anyone's fear. In my legal opinion, that should not be anyone's fear, because the state does take, if no budget is passed by the district, the state does take control and obligates 1/12 funding until a budget is enacted. And the superintendent may have already looked into what are the practical realities of that, because I don't know that answer, but I know that that is the statutory and the regulatory scheme. It's not as if the school district is left without any funding.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening. Marie Hines, 20 Katy Way. I just have a comment that it just seems unfair to the students, just because of most recent budget mistakes. It seems unfair to the students that you would not approve this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello again. Nanita Hiller, 100 Breckenridge Road. Two questions. How many other towns or regions are voting on this?
There are 5.
All right. And with like the proposed change to the budget, would this likely disrupt any like jobs of like the teachers and other people who are a part of the school system for that period between now and the next meeting?
I think maybe the Miss Muse. Remember, would you, if you wouldn't mind coming to the microphone on our behalf to answer that, sir? This one.
We have never enacted a 1/12 budget before, but I do not believe that it would affect any staffing or any operations, at least in the short term.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Michael Garabedian, 1280 Whipple Road. I feel like it should just be stated that the way that the Finance Committee made this amendment is confusing at best. It seems like it would have been a lot simpler for people if they just said $0 funding, because it's clearly not in our ability to make those changes. So while I agree with the spirit of it, it would have been a lot simpler to just say 0. But to everybody else, the idea here is if we vote this down and one other town votes this down, then the Shawshene School Committee has to go back and do another budget. So that's the simplest part of it. We either pay or another town agrees with us. So if we vote this down tonight and another town, obviously 2 already did accept, but one of the other 2 towns votes it down, then they have to go back to the table.
Thank you. There was a point that I think is important that everybody understand. There are 2 districts out of the 5 that have approved. We are the 3rd. There are 2 to follow us. Mr. Kosmierski, excuse me one second. Mr. Kosmerski did just on the amendment itself, did point out and did ask me to highlight that the vote to amend to this $3.75 million figure was a 4-3 vote in favor by the Finance Committee. He asked that I would highlight that. Ms. Moos, and then if
Yes,
I
okay.
think we're going to wrap up after
All right.
after you.
I just wanted to address where someone was asking for information. All our budget information is on our website, so you can certainly find it, everything there.
Thank you. One more, and I'm hoping to move the question.
Just a clarification, Steve Johnson, 212 Merrimack Meadows Lane.
Mr. Johnson.
If we vote down the amendment, meaning that there's no money available, if you then vote down the main article, and they come back with a new budget because one other town decides to vote it down too, which means they have to go back and do a new budget. What is the process for that? Because town meeting's over at that point. If a new budget is proposed and then comes forward, what's the mechanism for that? If we liked it and wanted it to go through, what's the mechanism? Because we're not supposed to meet again till October.
That's why we did 5/12.
So there's something available
Yes.
to send them. And they'll take whatever we're willing to give them. It just results as a no vote. Correct? If another town does it, they have to do a new budget, but we've given them some money in the meantime until we get to October. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And to be clear, the existing figure in the warrant is the full 9.5 million. So we are currently debating the amendment to bring that down to 3.75. But if this amendment fails, we will then be moving on to vote on the budget, which includes the full $9.5 million.
Can I just clarify one point to the last gentleman's thing?
Yes, please.
If this is voted down by two of our member communities, the Shawshene Tech School Committee has 30 days to create an amendment budget. After that 30 days is complete and that budget is amended, all 5 of our sending communities have to hold a special town meeting within 45 days. If it's not voted on within 45 days, it's an automatic approval of the amended budget. So again, just for some clarity around that, you can kick the can down the road, but eventually, if a town votes against it, there's going to have to be a special town meeting. There's no allowances within the law for this to wait until October or November.
Thank you. Okay. We have now an amendment on the floor to amend Article 4 to change the Shawshene Regional Vocational School fiscal year 2027 department requested amount to $3,750,000, representing 5/12 of the fiscal year 2026 budgeted amount, and adjust the total school departments and total general fund budget total accordingly. So on the amendment itself, we're moving to a vote now. We'll do a voice vote to get started. All those in favor of amending Article 4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The moderator's unable to tell, so we are going to move to a standing count. All those in favor, if counters would come count, all those in favor of amending Article 4, please signify by saying aye. All those who want to amend the figure down to 3.75 million, please stand and be counted at this time. Make sure your ribbon is visible, and when the counter points at you and clicks, then you may be seated. Please work for eye contact with your counter. What's that? This is yes. This is yes on the amendment. This is voting to amend. Good. Okay, all those opposed to amending the article, please stand and be counted at this time. All those opposed, please make eye contact with your counter. you. On the amendment to Article 4, the yeas are 43, the nays are 33. The amendment is adopted. We will now move to debate Article 4 as amended. Again, the changes in the amendment, page 11, third line from the bottom, under fiscal year 2027 department requested $9,560,993, and cascading down to the bottom total on page 11 and the final total on page 14. With that, the amendment is adopted, just to be clear. Mr. Levasseur, Mr. Levasseur has asked me to repeat what I just said. The amendment is adopted. So, in the warrant on page 11, the figure is, I may have completely messed up that last one up, I apologize. On page 11, the figure for Shawshene Regional Vocational School is now $3,750,000. Yeah. Thank you for whoever did the rest of the totals. Third line from the bottom on fiscal year 2027 town meeting recommended, page 11. That $9,560,993 figure is now $3,750,000. That adjusts the total school department's figure at the bottom of the page 11 to $85,946,984.05. And that also adjusts the annual town meeting general fund budget, the very last line on page 14, to $145,494,764.64. And I trust that that math is correct. Now, as amended, Mr. Levasseur, I don't think we, just as a matter of course, I don't think we actually move the question on Article 4.
Moderator, Finance Committee moves.
One more time.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt.
Article 4, the motion to adopt. Any other further debate? As amended, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We already called for additional discussion on the school departments. I feel that we've had a good, solid debate on the article. Are there any other discussions on, final discussions on school departments related to or unrelated to? Seeing no one rise. Article 4 in its entirety. All those in favor of Article 4, please, as amended, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Article 4 is adopted. It was not unanimous. Article 5. Okay. Now hopefully we can pick up the pace. Thank you. Article 5, Mr. Lavasser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt, raise, appropriate, and transfer from available funds a sum of $7,411,071 to operate the sewer enterprise fund.
Anyone rising to speak on Article 5? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell G Drive. Just a couple of questions. I don't see anything about the stabilization fund listed. I have a question about that. I know it's like in the $6 million range, and my understanding that stabilization fund should only be like 8 to 10% of the total budget of the different, like we have when we have a stabilization fund for the whole town. It's only a percentage, and this percentage is, I think, is way out of whack. The other thing is, I don't mention, this usually always has a high receivable account, and I don't see anything mentioned as far as receivables. And the other point I have is the low sewer is really, when this thing started way back, I mean, this has really jumped up. A lot of the time, a lot of people were saying there was a lot of extra water getting into the system and we were being charged for that, and they were going to be monitoring that. I don't know how that program is still ongoing. So those are the questions I have with the fund. And I also, as far as the increase in the sewer rates, even though you break it down and it's only so much, so much, this is like the third raise in like the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't think the sewer funds are really in a need for that extra money. I can understand what we're trying to do with the water, but I can't understand what we're doing with the sewer.
Okay. So I'm going to need to take those questions one at a time. So is there any particular question you'd like us to address first?
The stabilization fund.
The stabilization fund. Is there a requirement to maintain a certain level of stabilization fund?
If you take the same standard that we use for everything else, it's a lot less. That would, I think, for the town is 20 million or whatever, and they're saying that you should only not have any more than that. I think it's 10%. Don't quote me. It's been a while since and I'm wondering why this stabilization fund is so high. When,
But Article 5 does not pertain to the stabilization funds.
Well, it's part of the funds.
It's a part of the general budget, yes, but the Article 5 actually...
So, I mean, I could address that question with this hearing, because it would have some sort of a bearing on what the rate charges would be, which are the anticipated revenue.
Okay.
So
would somebody from the Finance Committee care to address the question of, is there a particular guideline or limit to the level of stabilization fund?
It was voted back a certain number of years ago to be a certain amount, not a percentage.
Thank you. Mr. Curran, I see you rising to address the question, if you would, please.
So, Charlie, I think you kind of addressed it. There is a generally accepted accounting principle for general funds that it be between 5 and 7%. There is no such restriction on enterprise funds for their stabilization funds, but, or free cash is more, in free cash in enterprise is retained earnings. But we do recognize that issue, and if you look in the book on page 4, you'll see that sewer stabilization is $4.4 billion. It's a pretty healthy number. But you'll also notice that in sewer retained earnings, we're using $900,000 out of sewer retained earnings to decrease the rate. So we're being very aggressive about using that money because we have a high sewer retained earnings balance and a high debt stabilization balance, sewer stabilization balance.
Right.
And we're using almost $1 million to bring the rate down. So I understand your point, and we are addressing it. We will continue to use sewer stabilization in that way. And I think you're going to see there are sewer pump stations that need to be replaced in the future, and we'll be using that stabilization fund for that. I do expect the rates for the sewer enterprise fund to be fairly stable over the future, partly because we have that sewer stabilization available. So I think that's a good thing. But you recognize an important trend, and we're aware of it, and we're trying to address it accordingly.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that the taxpayers were a part of the equation here, because even though you can justify raising rates, someone has to pay that rate. And with taxes going up $300 or $400 a year just on your house, then you throw this in, and then you have CPA, and things start to add up a little. So that's my only point, but I'm glad that you are addressing some of the costs.
Yeah, to the tune of $900, almost $1 million.
All right.
Thank you. Article 5, continuing debate. Do I see anyone with any additional questions or comments or debate on Article 5? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 5, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 5 is adopted unanimously. Article 6.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to transfer and appropriate $455,425 to the Water Enterprise Fund.
Anyone rising to debate Article 6? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 6 is adopted unanimously. Article 7.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 7.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Taylor Goodrow, 100 Breckenridge Road. I just have a question about this article in relationship to Article 19, which is, I've noticed over my time here at Tewksbury that our water mains seem to break a lot. I think probably at least 4 or 5 times this year we've been out without water for like hours, and I received the text messages to see how frequently that happens, and it's quite a bit. So is Article 7, is the budget here going to work towards fixing that, or is that more handled by Article 19?
Mr. Kern, if you would address, is Article 7 or 19 more aimed at repairs? Yeah.
So if you look at Article 7 in the first section, under the debt line item, you'll see it goes up. It's going up from 3.8 to 4.6 million, so going up a significant amount. That's because we are funding the debt that is in Article 19, the 5.4 million. So the Select Board has a policy that they adopted a couple of years ago where they would invest each year $5.4 million into the distribution system, rehabilitation of the distribution system. So each year we're adding that debt onto the book. So it's somewhat aggressive, but unfortunately not aggressive enough, because we we should be investing more, but right now financially, that's what we can handle, so that's what we've been doing. And as some of that sewer debt was falling off the books, we're trying to use that as sort of leveling off the impact of the burden on the ratepayers by replacing one debt with another debt.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
My
you,
question's
Mr.
for the
Kern.
town manager, if he wants to stay.
Don't go far.
Jonathan Champa, 21 Susan Drive.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the debt line item. Not a fan of debt at all. And it went up $1.5 million from 25 to 26, 800,000, 26 to 27. So when you say we're funding the debt, is that how much we're borrowing, or is that just the interest on what we already owe? What does that debt number resemble?
So that's principal and interest. If you go, I didn't bring the book up with me, but in the book, actually, it's in the budget. If you look at the budget book online, you'll see at the very end of the budget book, it gives you the town's debt schedule. And in that, you can see all the principal and interest, and you'll be able to see exactly how much we pay in principal and interest for these water projects. Thank you. So let me see if I can find it while I'm standing here.
Yeah, I was part of the original group that voted for the sewering project way back then, and I've been patiently waiting my 30 years for all of that debt to fall off and see my taxes go down. So to see it continue to increase, obviously it's not all interest, which is great, but obviously any interest we pay reduces the value of our tax dollars.
I'm sorry, with the last statement, any interest reduces the value of the interest you pay?
Yeah, if we're paying interest on the amount of dollars that we've borrowed, then our dollars aren't going as far because we're paying a premium through the borrowing, as opposed to if we were just funding the projects outright.
Right, but it doesn't make sense to fund projects outright because that equipment is going to serve generations of people, so you shouldn't make taxpayers of one generation pay for the whole burden. Debt, I know you don't like it, but it actually is a good thing when you think about spreading the burden out across a generation of people for 20 years. And just like when you buy a house, you don't enjoy your house all in 1 year, you enjoy it over the whole time that you live there, so it makes sense for you to pay for it over time. Same thing with debt, same thing with all these capital infrastructure projects. We spread that out. If you look at our credit rating, we're a AA plus bond rating, and we've been consistently getting bond interest rates below 3% even now. So we've done very well. We haven't been hurt at all financially by the borrowing we do. We currently have about $180 million in debt for the town. $150 million of that is general debt. The rest of that is water and sewer debt. Our ceiling for debt is $312 million. So we're not even half of what our debt could possibly be over time. So we're in very good shape. When the rating agencies look at the town, they don't ding us for our debt. They ding us for other things.
Okay, well, I would love to have lunch with you and talk about my 850 FICO score and my zero debt compared to your model and see who feels better about where their finances are. But you did answer the question, and I do appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. And thank you. Any other debate on Article 7? Seeing none. Article 7, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 7, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed, if you could repeat that. I heard no opposed. Article 7 is adopted unanimously. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 8, raise and appropriate $780,600 to operate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund.
Any debate on Article 8? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 8, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 8 is adopted unanimously. Article 9.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 9, raise and appropriate $606,292 to operate the cable TV price fund.
Debate on Article 9. Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 9, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 9 is adopted unanimously. If you're gonna go opposed, please be very loud, because if it's just one person, it's really hard to hear. Article 10.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 10, transfer $27,044 from bond premiums to reduce tax-exempt debt principal.
Any debate on Article 10? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 10 is adopted unanimously. Article 11.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 11, adopt the FY26 Affordable Housing Trust Fund allocation.
I believe there may be a scrivener's error in our script. Excuse me one moment. Mr. Levasseur, you said fiscal 26, but it's actually fiscal year 2027.
27.
You meant 27.
Scrivener's error.
Scrivener's error. Hey, I wouldn't have the job if I wasn't particular. Fiscal year 27. Anybody standing to debate Article 11? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 11, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 11 is adopted unanimously. Article 12, Mr. Levasseur, do I hear a motion on Article 12, or does the Finance Committee defer to the Community Preservation Committee?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 12.
Any debate on Article 12? Yes, sir.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell G Drive. What is the matching rate?
Could you pull that
What is the
microphone?
matching rate on the CPA fund?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
The matching rate,
The matching rate. What?
the rate that the state,
Okay, the question is, what is the matching rate? Do we have that figure? Mr. Curran.
I don't know what the exact rate is, but I think there is a chart in here. This is Article 12.
Mr. Curran, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the article in the book. Because article, I think, what's the article number?
Article number 12.
I thought there was a chart in there. And I think it was about 112,000 was the match.
is that like 18%?
Oh, here it is. Okay, on page 56 in the book, estimated state match. I mean, I'm just eyeballing that graph, and you can see that we received in FY27, well, I'll use FY26 because FY27 is projected, I think. FY26, just over $1 million, and we received less than $200,000 as a match.
So that's 20%.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Page 56, at the bottom of the page.
You can see the estimated state match On page 56 of your handout, in the bar graph here, the state match proportion is in red on the 2027 figure. Article 12, anybody else standing to discuss Article 12? All those in favor of the adoption of Article 12, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 12 is adopted unanimously. Article 13.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 13, transfer $30,190 from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated reserve for designing approximately 100 feet of boardwalk on the Bay Circuit Trail.
Thank you. You see some people rising to debate. Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please, and if you could point that microphone down a little bit.
Bruce Schick, 30 Lucille Drive.
Thank you, sir.
I rise in support of this article, which funds design and permitting for 2 projects. These projects will provide safe year-round passage over a critical part of the trail from Pinnacle Street to East Street that at times has water over 2 feet deep and in places and is about 70 feet wide. A little history is useful for perspective. The Bay Circuit Trail is a 230-mile trail from Plum Island to Kingston Bay. It was developed starting in the early 1990s. Tewksbury and Billerica are the last major gap that will provide a mostly wooded alternative to walking through the city of Lowell. In the early 2000s, the Bay Circuit Alliance negotiated access to state hospital lands for passive recreation. This right was enabled by an act of the legislature. Since then, we, Tewksbury, have signed agreements with the hospital that have solidified the right to make specific improvements to the open space for the benefit of the town and in support of the Bay Circuit Trail, which has been one of the major objectives of the town's open space and recreation plans. The town has approved approximately $90,000 for tree removal at the Pine Cemetery on the state hospital grounds, and funded several other projects on state hospital land that has helped residents use the trails on the open space. No CPA funds have been used for any hospital buildings. The Bay Circuit Trail is a big deal to the state and the Appalachian Mountain Club, which now oversees the entire 230-mile trail. Once the 100-foot boardwalk between the fields off of East Street is completed, the Appalachian Mountain Club will declare the Bay Circuit Trail ready for use between Andover and Billerica, making this the only recognized trail that connects Tewksbury to 2 other towns. Through trails are very important factors when we're seeking grants. And with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Floor is yours.
Tom Brancho, 30 Susan Drive. I am the chair of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee in town, and I have served on that committee for roughly 5 years. This particular boardwalk, as well as the development at the hospital fields, is one part of a wider effort to protect the remaining open spaces in Tewksbury. Our open spaces are one part of what makes Tewksbury very special. And if we don't act to protect and develop them, they will slip away. In the last few years, we have seen a significant increase in the use of Tewksbury's open spaces. You see individuals out there, families, dog walkers, you see kayaks on the Shawsheen, mountain bikers, runners, you see the high school cross-country team out there. And during our outreach events, we hear from the residents how much they value the open space. Even if they are not out there walking on them, they know how much they contribute to the character of our town. I just wanted to also reinforce the concept that these funds will come from CPA. They don't represent an increase in the taxes to to the individual residents. Well, the money has already been put aside, that is. So I'd encourage you to check out our open spaces, first of all, and I'd also encourage you to vote yes for this warrant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brancho. Any other debate on Article 13? Yes, sir.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell G Drive. I see this runs through state land. Now, does Tewksbury have the authority over the state, or does the state have the authority over Tewksbury? To say if something was to happen here and they wanted to close that down, would we be out of luck, or how does that work? Because we don't own that land, or we don't have rights unless the state gives us rights.
Question regarding, actually, Mr. Brancho or Bruce, if you wanted to step up and answer that question as a member of the Open Space Committee. I got that right. You are a member of the Open Space Committee?
I'm the vice chair of the Open Space Committee. I've been on it for 10 years. Also very familiar with the Bay Circuit Trail and the Bay Circuit Alliance agreement that was negotiated with the hospital for the use of these lands. And that was, as I said earlier, that was approved by the state legislature. So we now have a binding agreement with the hospital to use those lands for passive recreation through the Bay Circuit Alliance, which was absorbed into the Appalachian Mountain Club. So it would take essentially an act of the legislature, it's my understanding, town council can tell me if I'm wrong, that they would have to go back on that to take away our right to use it for passive recreation.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean we can sell it or do anything else, but we can use it for passive recreation.
Thank you. Anything else on Article 13? All those in favor of adoption of Article 13, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 13 is adopted unanimously. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 14 and transfer $2,519,180 for equipment, facility improvements, and one-time expenditures.
Article 14. Name and address, if you would.
Ann Hagstrom, 125 Livingston. I'm seeing line items in here for sidewalk complete streets. We've had discussions in probably the last 2 years, I think, that we've talked about sidewalks being added, and I've seen the ones on Shawsheen, which have been amazing and have probably saved lives, the way people drive down Shawsheen Street. And I've heard, I think it was the last 2 years, there was supposed to be completion on Livingston Street all the way down, and I believe Whipple, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those were the last 2 that were approved. But I haven't seen any action on either of those. And those were approved, I think, in previous budgets. So I'm wanting to get a status on whether or not this budget is to add to those, or if someone can clarify the status of those sidewalk plans and what this sidewalk completion streets are, if that's what these $500,000 are for, because I know that we do get some state money every year towards sidewalks.
Thank you. Now, there is a line item there on sidewalk construction for $500,000 in the detail on page 58 of your handout.
I don't
So
have
there's,
that one.
I'm sorry?
I don't have that.
You don't have that, okay. It is, I'm being told it's in the warrant. Let me pull out the warrant.
Thanks.
So there is, I'm sorry, excuse me.
So can we get an update then on what the status is of Livingston and Whipple Streets then?
Mr. Kern, we are looking for an update on the status of Whipple and...
I know it doesn't apply to this budget, but it'd be great to have an update on those.
I'll give you an update, as long as Laura says it's okay, because she's stealing Laura's thunder. You had asked about the Livingston Street project. So right now, we have, that isn't currently in design, and we've spent in fiscal year '25, 65,000 on design, and then Livingston and Chandler, which is another leg of that project, has spent $25,000 in design. We expect to spend $76,000 more on Livingston Street design this year through Chapter 90 money, so that's a good thing. We expect, we're hoping, you know, if we're eligible for the grants, we're going to apply for the grants. Otherwise, this money will help pay for that project. But to answer your question about the projects you asked about that we've funded, they're currently mostly in design. And the big projects that we have that will end up in construction is $1 million of free cash that was appropriated in the fall of 2025 for Livingston Street. And we expect that that'll probably be fully designed and out to bid for the FY27 construction year. And then additionally, $850,000 that we received as a grant would also fund that project. So that's $1.8 million in sidewalk work that we would expect to happen.
So if I were to do that in layman's term, we're looking at Livingston being done in the end of 2027?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question and debate. Any other debate on Article 14? Okay, now it's time to get on your toes a little bit, quite literally. Article 14 involves an appropriation from the Stabilization Fund and requires a 2/3 vote. We will take this vote in reverse standing order. All those opposed to Article 14, please stand at this time. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 14, please stand and be counted at this time. Thank you. Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 15, allowing the school department to utilize $227,800 from the Stabilization Fund for school capital equipment, facility improvements, and one-time expenditures.
Any debate on Article 15? Doesn't appear to be any. Article 15, again, will be a reverse standing count as it involves the appropriation stabilization funds. All those opposed to Article 15, please stand and be counted at this time. I see none. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 15, please stand and be counted at this time. Article 15 is adopted unanimously. Article 16. Mr. Levesque.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 16, applies $1,280,000 from the sewer enterprise returned earnings for capital equipment and the sewer department.
Thank you. Any debate on Article 16? Seeing no one rise, this one's simple. All those in favor of Article 16, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 16 is adopted unanimously. Article 17, Mr. Lavasser.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 17. Adopt, utilize $855,000 from Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings for capital equipment and improvements in the water department.
Any debate on Article 17? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 17, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 17 is adopted unanimously. Article 18, Mr. Lavasser.
Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 18, raise and appropriate a sum of $700,000 from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund for improvements
And design. Any debate on Article 18? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 18, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 18 is adopted unanimously. Article 19. Mr. Lavasser, please wet your whistle.
First, like to thank our town council for making me read all this. Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 19, that the town hereby appropriates a sum of $5,400,000 for the cost of installing and replacing water lines in the town, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow said sum under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 8.5 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, therefore. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such cost by a like amount.
Thank you very much. Article 19. Any debate or discussion on Article 19? Yes, sir.
Charlie Anzoni, 180 Mitchell G Drive. This is a part of an ongoing program. Is this like for another 10 years or 20 years that we'll be seeing this article every year? And this is not going through the water enterprise, correct? This is going to be debt exempt on the town side budget? Is that how it works? This won't be affecting the water rates?
Mr. Kern, yes, if you would address whether or not Article 19 will be affecting the water rates and whether these funds will pass
So
through.
the first part of the policy, the first part of the question is it is the policy of the select board to invest $5.4 million a year. And that I would expect that to continue out over the next decade, because we couldn't do the work that needs to be done, spending $5.4 million in 10 years. We're hoping that other things come along that help us to do other projects through other programs. But so I would expect it to go at least for the next 10 years until there's a change in policy. The second part of your question, it is not exempt. It is part of the rates, so it does impact the rates. And when I presented this to the board, and last year and the year before, when the previous town manager presented it, we projected that the rates for water, we buffered the 2 years, this year and last year, because they were inordinately high. They were up around 11%. But we think with other debt falling off, that the rates, we could probably be in that neighborhood of 3 to 4% moving forward as a projection. So that's where we are. That's what we forecast the impact to be in the interest of transparency. But it
is there a consideration like what they did with the sewer in order to hide the
I would
rates
actually,
where they did
I would love to
50/50?
do that. I would love to replace what we did on the sewer with the water, but that would require a vote of the board, and actually, I think a ballot vote. I think that's what you did with the first one, with the sewer debt that was put on as an exempt debt. So doing it as exempt debt would require a vote of town meeting and of the people.
I'm just saying, because if you add 10 years, 5, and you know this is going to go up because you get less and less for your money every year, you might be looking like at an $80 million loan going to that water fund. Is that?
I think
Is that what we're saying?
that's a valid point, and that it might come to that they're going to have to, we might have to in the future look at it more aggressively, and maybe that's when you do bring it to the people because it's such a significant thing. But right now, we're trying to move ahead within the means that we have, and that's 5.4 million a year.
So rates would have to go up every year
Yeah.
after you stop subsidizing the fund. Rates are probably going to really jump.
Well, the sewer rates are going to come down because they're not being subsidized, that's falling off the books. The water rates have nowhere to go but up because we're not putting it on the general fund like that sewer project was done. You could do that, but again, that would require a vote of the people and town meeting.
So they're putting some sort of a program together, I hope, because this is unsustainable to charge those kind of rates for water in the coming years.
Well, right now, that rate of 3 to 4% is, that's where we are, and that will sustain.
Okay, I just wanted to get an idea, thought process of where the committee or whoever's in charge of the rates is, how they're going to sell this, because this is an awful big sell for these kind of rates.
Well, that's why we can't go beyond the 5.4 million, because it definitely becomes.
But that multiplies, that doesn't go away every year.
No, it does, but I've accounted for that in my debt projection.
Okay, no, I just want to get an idea where we're going with this.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's a relatively light meeting, but if we could just remember to direct the questions through the moderator. I just want to make sure that discussions like that are paced out so everybody in the room can hear and understand the back and forth. I'd appreciate that. Any other debate on Article 19? Seeing none. Again, this requires a 2/3 vote, so we are going to take this vote in a reverse standing order. Article 19. All those opposed to Article 19, please stand and be recognized at this time. Thank you. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 19, please stand. Article 19 is adopted unanimously. Article 20, Mr. Lavasser.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 20, that the town hereby appropriates the sum of $1.5 million for the cost of purchasing and installing water meters and/or water meter components, the town, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow the sum under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section H6 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore, any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you very much. Article 20, any debate on Article 20? Seeing none, again, we're going to conduct this in reverse standing order because this requires a 2/3 vote. All those opposed to the adoption of Article 20, please signify by standing to be counted at this time. All those in favor of Article 20, please stand and be counted at this time. Thank you. Article 20 is adopted unanimously. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 21.
Any debate on Article 21? Seeing no one rise, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 21, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 21 is adopted unanimously. Article 22. Mr. Kern, I understand that there's an amendment to Article 22 detailed in the supplemental handout, page 3, part 1. I'll just read that as you work your way up. Go ahead. Article 22 to be amended as follows. The words "a sum of money" be replaced with $1,394,960.27 and any additional funds appropriated by the Commonwealth in fiscal year 2027. Mr. Kern, the floor is yours.
So it's just a routine amendment. The amount of the Chapter 90 appropriation wasn't known at the time the warrant was written, so it's just added in as a budget amendment. But that's the amount we're receiving, 1.3 million. And if we receive any additional funds throughout the year, your vote, the way this is worded, will cover the receipt of those funds.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Any debate on the amendment to Article 22? Ms. Kaplan. The amendment only, if you please.
11 Monaco Road. Before we vote on the amendment, on the amount, I'm assuming the amount that you're asking to be amended is what the state has given us for the Chapter 90 funds. Do I have permission to ask where this money is going to be allotted for in the community of Tewksbury for the sidewalks to be installed and maintained? Or would I have to wait until after the amendments voted on it?
I suppose, let's just get through the amendment, because without the amendment, it's not really specific enough. The question
was the amendment 1 million? I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator, if I could direct a question to you through Mr. Curran.
Yes, ma'am.
So the updated amount is $1,394.27, or
it is $1,394,960.27. In the supplemental handout, if you turn to page 3, at the very top, the amendment is already detailed in the supplemental handout. That number one more time, we're replacing "a sum of money" with $1,394,960.27 and any additional funds appropriated by the Commonwealth in fiscal year 2027.
so I just want to ask, as somebody that attends the meetings regularly, this supplemental book, when we register, when we come in and check in, can I ask that that book be handed out to everybody? Because I didn't realize that was with all the amendments in it, because I did collect a book last time, but if every time we come to vote, that supplemental book is crucial for us to make an intelligent decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Can they just be handed out instead of left on the table? Because no one said to me, you
Robert's
need this
gonna-
book to make an intelligent decision.
So Robert's going to get you a copy for future reference. We don't always know ahead of time what the amendments are going to be. Some of them are written in the context of the meeting. Anything that we do have ahead of time, we do like to publish for future reference, but it's, a supplemental handout, so.
I understand, but I'm used to all the papers being out on the table,
Mm-hmm.
of which I look through and read the amendments. I didn't realize they're all bound up, which I do appreciate the book. However, I don't appreciate the fact that we should be just given this book. If
Sure.
we're coming in here to vote on all these articles, so we can make an intelligent decision. That's all I ask.
Understand.
Thank you.
Understand, thank
And I
you.
apologize for everyone's time. I know it's a late hour, so I'll wait for the amendment to be voted on. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. You are entitled to your 5 minutes. The context of this booklet is also going to be published ahead of the town meeting on the website if you wanted to look it up in advance for future reference. I think the only additional piece of paper besides the very nice spiral-bound supplemental is this yellow sheet which contains the town committee votes, which are not known early enough to get it on the publication of the supplemental handout. Thank you. Okay, the amendment. Are you standing to talk about the amendment specifically? Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Nanita Hiller, 100 Breckenridge Road. So my understanding of this article, based on the summary, is that the state determines the amount of money that it will give us for this article. In amending this article to a defined number, are we asking the state for that defined number?
In amending the article, that is not my understanding, Mr. Curran. If you would address, I think the operative word in that sentence is "and."
So we actually received a letter from the state with that amount on it, but we did not receive it at the time the original warrant was printed, so it has to be added as an amendment. But the number is the number provided by the state. So we don't ask them for a number. That's a formula-generated number based on the number of miles of streets in the town.
Gotcha. So this is basically just updating the article based on information the state gave us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you both. The amendment to Article 22. Any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the adoption of the amendment to Article 22, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 22 is amended as detailed on page 3 of your supplemental handout. Mr. Lavasser?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 22 as amended.
Thank you. Article 22 as amended in itself. Any debate? Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Ann Hagstrom, 125 Livingston. Mr. Curran, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but can you please give some idea about what that money's going to be earmarked towards in terms of repairs? I know some of that money, it's been indicated here for sidewalk and road work. And I know that typically that Chapter 90 money is supposed to be earmarked for sidewalks, and whether or not, how much of that money is going to be allotted towards sidewalks, please?
Mr. Curran.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just to give you some context, FY24, the town received $918,000 Chapter 90 money, and that year they spent $157,000 on sidewalks. That's about 17% of that allotment. And then in FY25, We received 1.1 million in Chapter 90 funds. We actually received a supplemental appropriation throughout the year, so it was like 900 plus a supplemental. And of that, 401,000 was spent on sidewalks, and that is a 36% allotment of Chapter 90 money. And then in FY26, we will be receiving $1.39 million, as you see in the article. And we have allotted $306,000 to be spent on sidewalk work, and that is roughly 22% of the Chapter 90 appropriation. And just to give you some detail about what that work is, Whipple Road from Pleasant Street to Chandler Street, there is design work that needs to be completed for that. That's $56,000. Livingston transportation improvements from East Street to Roy's Way, $76,000 on sidewalks for that project.
I'm sorry, can you repeat, what was the Livingston? I did.
Livingston transportation improvements from East Street to Roy's Way, that's $76,000. And then Livingston from Roy's Way to Hazel Field, sidewalk reconstruction, and sidewalk reconstruction on Chandler Street from Foster to Indian Hill, and that's $57,000 in design money for that. And then on North Street, from Andover Street to International Place, we have design money in there for $116,000. So all of that totals up to $306,000 of Chapter 90 money being spent on different sidewalk projects across the town. And just to give you a little bit more context, we spend other money on sidewalks. So in FY24, we spent $687,000 on sidewalks. And if you add that to these, to the design money we spent that I mentioned earlier, that's about 92% of the Chapter 90 appropriation. So we spend an equivalent, almost a complete equivalent of what we received the Chapter 90 money in FY24. In FY26 this year coming up, we are looking to spend, well actually it's going to roll into FY27. That's our 1.8 million that I was talking about, which exceeds what we've appropriated in Chapter 90 money. A lot of the additional Chapter 90 money goes to road work. We have a 5-year capital plan for road work, which you can also find in our budget book. And it gives you, basically, we grade the roads and we try to maintain a certain level of performance. One of the reasons, I know it's been a big debate about sidewalks versus streets, and we should be spending the money on sidewalks, but our road performance was at 76%. We want to maintain that. When we had a study done to do that, we need to spend over $5 million a year on road work to maintain that level. And we don't spend $5 million because we don't have the capacity to do that. But that's why so much money is invested in Chapter 90 to roadworks as opposed to sidewalks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan.
Again, the late hour, Laura Kaplan, 11 Banaka Road, Tewksbury. I'm just going to say what I say every year, but I'm saying this in memory of Representative Maselli, who asked me to do this in honor of his memory. Chapter 90 funds was given to communities for installation of sidewalks. How it was changed to use for other purposes such as road works, which all due respect we do need, and equipment, etc., for maintenance of our sidewalks, which we do need. That's why we have a DPW budget. Chapter 90 funds should be used for installation purposely for sidewalks. The reason it was changed was the city of Boston and other cities that already had sidewalks asked the state, how can you help us? We have sidewalks, but we don't have a means to maintain them properly. So they changed Chapter 90, the way the law was written, so that communities that already had sidewalks could utilize those funds to maintain sidewalks. However, our community of Tewksbury is working on that, but we have a real huge need for sidewalks throughout our community. And as someone mentioned earlier, if you go down Shawshene Street, any time of day except at the night, you will see people walking their dogs, wheeling their baby carriages, riding their bicycles, which we're very grateful for that. But we need to continue, and not in small projects like $76,000 here, $57,000 here. We're getting almost $1 million every year. This year, over $1 million to install sidewalks. We should be looking at that, just that, installing sidewalks. I'd like to know, besides those small projects you mentioned, are there any discussions on a larger project, such as what you did in Shawshene Street in the community of Tewksbury, to utilize more of that Chapter 90 funds for what the sole purpose it was put in place, which was to install sidewalks? If I may ask Mr. Moderator, through the town manager, Mr. Curran, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Mr. Curran, are there other points?
Yeah, it's a little deceiving when you say we spend 76,000, 56,000. That sounds like small money, but that's just the design portion on, $1 million projects. So we have 3 big projects going, that I mentioned already: Livingston Street, Whipple, and then North Street. All of those projects together probably will cost anywhere in the $6 to $7 million. So they're not small projects. It is deceiving because we're spending this design money, but that design money is being spent to basically do very large projects.
But we received over $1 million, correct, in Chapter 90 funds. We received, according to the amendment, $1,394,960.27. So where is the rest of that money, minus the $306,000 for the design work? Where is all that money going? Towards road work?
Yes, there's a good portion of that money that's going towards road work, crack filling, microsurfacing, reconstruction of road works, grind and overlay. So there's a lot of that. As I said before, there is a good portion of that money that has to go to road work, because if we don't, the roads they'll become worse than they are. We had a bad winter, which makes it even more difficult. But we do have to balance those funds between roads and sidewalks.
But what about using, like, the DPW budget? Like, the money we vote for the DPW, I don't know what the figure is.
So we do that. We don't use operating
But why
money to do
can't
that.
the road work funds be taken out of that budget and the Chapter 90 funds be used for sidewalk and maintenance of sidewalks, not the roads that our cars are on, but the roadways that pedestrians are on?
So, as I said, we can't use operating money to build sidewalks. But we do use other money. Just last year, we appropriated $1 million from free cash for sidewalks. And we use grant money for sidewalks. We use other Complete Streets program for sidewalks and roads. So we do use other sources for these things. It's just, unfortunately, it's not enough.
Thank you, Mr. Curran.
Well, I guess my questions were answered, but I'm still pleading with everybody here to just be more educated on Chapter 90 funds, as I was, and know that they were originally put in place to install sidewalks, not roadways, not equipment.
Thank you for that
And I
information.
understand the town needs that.
Thank you. Time has expired. Thank you very much. Article 22, yes, sir. Name and
Dave
address, please.
Asnavorian, 12 Marie Street.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I was wondering if we could get some kind of legal counsel guidance on Chapter 90, because everything that I look up related to Chapter 90 is it's not exclusively for sidewalks. So this has been a reoccurring theme at multiple town meetings. I'm wondering if we could get clear legal guidance.
Mr. Feely, if you would address whether or not Chapter 90 is currently limited to sidewalks only?
No, I believe, as the prior speaker indicated, Mr. Moderator, that the law was changed to allow a greater use of Chapter 90 money. I believe that the original intent was sidewalks, but the law did change to allow an expansion into roadways in addition to sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. Feely. Any other debate on Article 22 as amended? We'll do a voice vote. Article 22, all those in favor of the adoption of Article 22 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 22 is adopted unanimously. As amended. Thank you. Article 23. Before we take up Article 23, I wish to disclose that as the sponsor of this article, I have a personal interest in its outcome. I am therefore temporarily unable to preside. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 14, I call upon the Town Clerk, Denise Graffio, to assume the duties of moderator for the purposes of Article 23.
Is there any discussion on Article 23? Oh. There's no other question.
Ms. Moderator, Finance Committee moves to adopt Article 23.
Is there any discussion on Article 23? Okay, I'm going to take a vote on Article 23. Everybody in favor of Article 23, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
No.
No. Article 23 is adopted.
Thank you. Bring this back up. Thank you very much. Article 24. Would a member of the Shawsheen Committee care to address the Assembly?
Mr. Moderator, I move to adopt Article 24. And I will read the motion.
So moved.
That the town of Tewksbury hereby allocates $405,650 from the stabilization fund for Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District for the sole purpose of paying costs of a feasibility study on behalf of the Shawsheen Valley Technical High School located at 100 Cook Street, Billerica, Mass. 01821. Excuse me. Including the payment of all costs incidental or related to thereto the study, and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount to be expended at the direction of the School Building Committee for Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District, that the town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA, and any study cost the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district and its member municipalities, provided further that any grant that district may receive from the MSBA for the study shall be as set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA, and that the amount of funding authorized by the district
shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA.
Thank you, Ms. Muse. I have before me an amendment as well, which you submitted. This amendment to Article 24 will modify what is written in the warrant, the first line, the words vote to transfer and appropriate the amount of. It would strike those words and change those words to the word allocate. I assume because you presented that at the beginning of the meeting, you would like to move to adopt that amendment, Ms. Muse.
I do move to adopt that amendment.
Thank you. So, the amendment would be to change for the warrant, the very beginning sentence, the words vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of would be removed from the article, and those words would be replaced by the term allocate. Now, on the amendment only, we're going to have plenty of debate on this article, I'm sure. But now that Ms. Muse has has made the motion to adopt Article 24 and made the motion to adopt the amendment, we will debate the amendment itself. Would anybody like to debate the amendment that's only limited to that wording change? Seeing none. All those in favor of amending Article 24 by striking the words vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of and replacing those words with the word allocate, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The article is amended unanimously. Okay. We will now begin debate on Article 24 as amended itself. Ms. Muse, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to yield my time to Christopher Wood, who is on the Building Committee.
Mr. Wood? Introduce yourself with name and address. I see you have a yellow ribbon. I'll start your 5 minutes.
Christopher Wood, 163 Patrick Road.
If you please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening. I'm speaking in favor of this article as a volunteer on the committee for the building feasibility study. So this is initially not about doing a building, it's about a feasibility study to gather information about what to do. The building was designed in 1970 for 1,000 students. It's already serving 1,300 students, with more students who have interest to attend. The Finance Committee has recommended against this article. The Finance Chair, Mr. Lavasseur, said that he wants the school to continue and be successful, as well as the Finance Committee. I agree with that. I hope that's true, because this is important work to figure out how to proceed. It doesn't necessarily mean that a new building is coming. The Building Committee, after the study, could recommend a renovation and an addition, or a new building. It takes several years. The Shawshene Tech has submitted multiple times to become in the system to get state funds. That means part of the funding, if action were taken, would come from the state. They submitted multiple times without being successful. This year they've been successful. 2 of the towns have already approved this. We're expecting the other 2 towns to also approve this based on discussion and votes of various subcommittees. And so we're asking that Tewksbury also approve this. Unlike other provisions, this must be unanimous to go forward. This is also, there was a mention about not impacting students with regard to the budget. This is not about current students. If there were a renovation or a building to occur, you're talking about a 5 to 7 year process. So we're not talking about today's students, we're not talking about next year's or the year after. We're talking about a process that takes 5 to 7 years and impacting future students. We want to be able to serve all these students direct to industry. College is not for everyone. Other people need other specialized training. In order to be successful, we need to provide that to our prospective students down the road. The building, as I said, 1970, that means many of the pieces of equipment, although well-maintained, are obsolete. There's HVAC equipment in there that can't even be, you can't buy parts for it anymore. There's asbestos there. There are other problems which are going to result in capital fund expenditures. If this process is not undertaken by the Mass State school building process, then that will be on the communities. Also, the 19 of the 20 programs do not meet the requirements for workshop space. So you have students that are not being served by the current building completely. There are rooms that have, like closets that have been turned into offices. Inefficiencies in teaching students. Many of the things we've talked about this evening, sewer, water main, we just had the discussion about sidewalks. They involve planning. The reason the town is able to make decisions about what to do is because planning has been done. Engineering, design, engineering planning has been done. That's what this is about. This is about a feasibility study so that recommendations can be made so that the towns can make the appropriate decisions. It doesn't say a building is or isn't going to be created or a renovation or anything else. It's about doing that work. But just as I said with the other things, we have to do the work in order to be successful. 2 towns have already approved it. So this is why I'm asking everyone to make this decision. I'm a fire protection engineer, and so just to give you an analogy to think about that, if you are the captain of a ship is going through the water, you saw a fire alarm on the panel, you'd have to go investigate that panel. Fine, that's the budgeting issues. Investigate, figure out what's going on, but you can't stop navigating the ship. You can't stop planning where you're going and how you're going to respond, how you're going to meet the needs. You can't run the ship aground because you have a fire alarm. So I would like to urge everyone to support this article. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. The Finance Committee, in a 4-to-1 vote, voted to reject Article 24. Would one member of the Finance Committee care to address the Assembly for a period of up to 5 minutes? Mr. Lavasser.
Moderator, residents of Tewksbury. Regarding Article 24, Finance Committee notes that the funding for this request was originally intended from Shawshene Tech's free cash. However, that free cash has not been certified by the state due to ongoing issues with internal accounting and unresolved financial discrepancies. Finance Committee recognizes that Shawshene facilities need significant renovation or reconstruction. However, foundation of any project of that magnitude must be built on a sound financial management. To put this into perspective, the district is currently struggling to manage its $40 million operating budget. Yet a new building or any type of reservation is estimated to cost at least $350 million. If the district cannot currently demonstrate the operating standard procedures required to track the budget, we cannot responsibly recommend take on a capital project of this massive scale. Something of this scale requires a level of stability and transparency that simply does not exist at Shawshene Tech today.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last phrase.
So until then, we believe this request is premature. Consequently, the Finance Committee recommends rejecting the article, protecting $405,640 of our taxpayers' money. And
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I will now open the floor to general debate on the article as amended. We'll go to the line. If there are any other members of the committees that would like to speak, we'll get you in line so you can speak in turn. Yes, ma'am.
Maureen Castiglione, 1098 Whipple Road. As was pointed out by the speaker prior to me, this is a feasibility study. It really should not be an issue. I have no skin in the game. In about a month, my last kid will be out, so I have no skin in the game. But I think repeatedly back to the times I've been asked to raise my taxes and pay money for a new high school, a new center school, a new fire station, a whole bunch of things that maybe didn't benefit me or whatever, but now they benefit me. I just want people to really consider it. It's a feasibility study. If you don't want to pay for a new building, if that gets approved, you vote that down when that gets approved. But to have the actual study to determine whether or not it can even be fixed or amended or rebuilt, you're once again talking about the future. Everyone talks about the kids of the future. The kids of the future. They're the people who are going to run everything. I'll be dead in 20 years. You need to look at that and look at the big picture and not stop focusing so much, I apologize, on I got mine, you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mark Fatman, 101 Merrimack Meadows Lane.
Mr. Crabb.
One of the things that I'm frustrated with this article is the communication. Anybody who's been to our town meeting understands that if you want to pass something at town meeting, you come and you do a presentation. If you get a school, the high school's ever looking for funds, or anybody's looking for funds, there's a pretty good discussion on what goes on, not a letter to the town that comes across and says, we're looking for this. And I appreciate the information that was given tonight, but you're not going to get things passed at town meeting if you present it at town meeting. There should have been more debate. There should have been more information. All these things, there's been many questions asked by the Finance Committee, many questions asked by other boards, and unfortunately, not all those questions were answered. And then we're looking for money to build this. I support Shawshene Tech. I think they're doing a fantastic job. Our children deserve those kind of educational purposes, but the communication from the school has to increase immensely. They need to come before our boards. They have to, don't send us a letter, and when we ask you to come to meetings, show up. Don't say I'm unavailable. Because we've asked numerous times for people to come to our select board meetings, and numerous times they were told us they were unavailable. And then here comes the letter, and here's, we're gonna come to the floor, and we're gonna ask for this money. And I understand it probably is needed, but the communication and the presentation should have been much, much better. And going forward, I hope that improves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crabman. Yes, sir.
Hi, Tim Sweat, 1113 Whipple Road. So I am a father of a future high schooler, and I'm interested in Shawshene Tech for my son and the vocational areas. But my concern is more around the feasibility study and the impact of the results of that, along with our own school building projects that we're already currently paying for in our loans, along with the feasibility of replacing both Dewing and Heathbrook, and even possibly the Wind side. middle school. Has the town modeled basically a total capital picture of basically both a building debt exclusion with Shawsheen along with replacing Dewing and Heathbrook?
That's not a rhetorical. You would like an answer to that?
Say that again?
That's not a rhetorical question. You would like an
That is
answer?
not a rhetorical question.
Has the town, if you could,
Has the town, okay, let's see. So has the town modeled the total capital picture of potential Shawsheen building debt exclusion alongside the need to replace Heathbrook and Dewing and even possibly Wynn Middle School?
thank you. Mr. Kern?
So we have done some modeling of our own projects with the Heathbrook and the Doing and what that project could cost based on different scenarios that were presented in the feasibility study that the town did for the future of the town's school system. But I do not have information about Shawsheen to model, because as if you were at the finance committee, the meeting when it was presented, the number changed by $70 million in that meeting. It went from 200 something to 350 million, which highlights an issue, which is they don't really know what the building is going to cost. And I understand that it's a projection, but we made a projection in a couple of scenarios and presented that to the finance committee just an hour before they did. And they came up and they were just shooting from the hip. They didn't have the information that was necessary. Again, communication. And I just didn't feel confident that the numbers that they're presenting are true and accurate. And it's not fair to put that on the voters of this community to ask them to pay $500,000 for a building they have no idea how much it's going to cost. And to take it out of unplanned capital monies that the town has put aside for its own emergency purposes.
Understood. So we've done we got an estimate, but it's from us, not from.
Estimate for our schools, not for Shawsheen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see, yes, sir.
So yes, Tony McIntosh, Superintendent Director, Shawsheen. There's a couple of things I'd like to clarify. In the book, the executive summary says this is a study for a new high school. That has not been determined. And again, I am not a construction professional. I'm not comfortable making project estimates for something of this scale, especially when we don't know if this project is going to be a renovation addition, or a new building. So again, the communication piece, I'm not going to communicate out information that I don't have, and two, that I don't know is accurate. We are asking for this money to move forward with MSBA. If we don't move forward in this pipeline, we're forfeiting, giving up, whatever you want to say, tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars in reimbursement from MSBA. This feasibility study will take anywhere from 18 to 24 months to complete. We've heard the concerns. I've heard the concerns here. I've heard the concerns at other town meetings. You're going to have 18 to 24 months. And if at that point in time, nothing's changed, people aren't happy, you're going to have the option to vote against funding that project. This is not a do not pass go, collect $200 kind of situation. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and we're just asking to stay in the pipeline. MSBA usually receives somewhere between 75 and 90 requests every year and fund between 15 and 20 of them. I've heard some narrative around, oh, you just get back in line, they'll accept you the next year. That's not typically what happens. It's usually 4, 5, or 6 years before you get another opportunity to get back in and be eligible for funding. Again, Mr. Woodhead spoke about this. There's a lot of aging building systems. There's a lot of mechanical systems that are going to need help. We may not make it the 5, 6, 10 years. And we're going to be back out here and we're going to be asking communities to bond money to make repairs of the building. And that won't be subsidized and that won't be offset with MSBA funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I understand you correctly that the executive summary was incorrect in that the words "a new high school facility" was incorrect? You just nod.
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Do I understand your statement correctly that the new high school facility, that term in the executive summary, was incorrect?
In my opinion, it should read, the article will fund a feasibility study to review the facility at Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School. All options are on the table. This is not a discussion about building a new facility.
I have a question for the town clerk. When this article was filed by the Shawshene Valley Technical School Committee, on that paperwork, did it include an executive summary?
I didn't get the article. It's the select board's warrant, so.
Select board's warrant? Mr. Curran, you don't have to come to the microphone if you could just indicate.
This is what was sent to us.
That was what was sent to you. We have a little bit of confusion here. If on the executive summary, I think the fastest and most expedient way to correct the question of where the text of the executive summary would come from would be to have an amendment to correct the verbiage of the executive summary. Now, seeing as we're already into the debate and you've had a chance to voice what your opinion of the executive summary should be for the record, and the executive summary is not technically part of the text of the article, it does not have that significant effect. The executive summary is there for everybody's understanding. So I'm asking you a pretty specific question. Do you, at this time, wish to submit a modification or an amendment to the executive summary to correct the terms, or do you want to continue to?
No, I don't wish to amend the executive summary. I just wanted it to be known.
Okay, thank you. You've read that into the record. I appreciate it. Any other debate on Article 24?
I do it.
Miss Muse.
Even though I waived my time. I would like to talk about communication. I've been on the Shawshene Valley Tech School Committee for over 30 years. I have not once ever received any communication from the Finance Committee or the Select Board about meetings. You will say that you send it to the superintendent. But I am the elected official. I should at least get it, and so should my partner in crime over there. Also, communication, we were told, as far as I know, I didn't get any multiple dates. I actually contacted him. I contacted the Finance Committee, and I contacted the town manager, not the Finance Committee, the town manager about, we thought we had a meeting, but it wasn't on the agenda. And that was both for the Select Board and for the Finance Committee. And then I tried to get a hold of the Finance Committee member who never responded. I then, after our meeting, when I showed up at that meeting and I thought we had a pretty good discussion, a member reached out to me and said, you know, you can always email me because I have some questions. And I said, well, I will have the superintendent email you. And I will also email you. I never got a response.
Thank you, Ms. Muse.
I know it's not the article.
If there are further pieces of information or questions about the procedures and notification.
Well, I mean, when someone says something, okay.
Yeah.
I do want to say this is a feasibility study. It was like the study the town did or whoever did that whole thing for the school department. But that's not a feasibility study. That wouldn't be accepted by MSBA. I don't know how much you paid for that study. But anyway. And I will say, so the money we're asking, I don't know if the town forgets this or the Finance Committee forgets this. In the last 2 years of our E&D, we gave back to the town $479,327. That would easily fund the feasibility money that we're asking for now. This is for our kids. This is for the future students. You know, I mean, they deserve a school that works. You know, we have a new high school here. The kids in our town, these are all kids from our town. This shouldn't be us against the school department. These are all our kids. We have 350 kids from Tewksbury at our school right now. They deserve the best school they can get. And I'm not, you know, and I am not really in favor of a brand new school. I'd like to see certain things fixed. And to fix the the main things, like just to fix the roof units, because we can't even get parts anymore. We would have to spend over $100 million to get those. And if we don't go through the MSBA, we wouldn't get any reimbursement. That comes out of our pocket. So I think you need to think about the children, the students from the whole town. They have a great option here to pick which school they want to go to, and both schools should be delivering the best they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Muse. I see one more member, I believe, from school committee standing. And then I would like to, Mr. Lavasser did reserve the remainder of his time. If he'd like to use that, I'd like to offer that. And then I would prefer to move the question if we could wrap this up. The floor is yours, sir.
94 Walnut Road here in Tewksbury, and I'm on my second year on the school committee. I just want to say, Shawshene Tech has been waiting between almost 4 or 5 years to get on for this study. If we get bumped out, we're looking at possibly another 4 or 5.
You can adjust the microphone.
We're possibly looking at another 4 to 5 years to get back on again. I was recently speaking with somebody from Watertown. They were in the same, we'll say, pipeline for this study. They got bumped out. It was 6 years before they got back in. We're not looking for $350 million. We're looking to do a feasibility study to try and make the school better for all the students. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lavasser, you have 2 minutes and 9 seconds remaining of your time. Would you like to use it up?
I will defer to my vice chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Lavasser, as we said at the Finance Committee meeting, as we'll say again tonight, I understand the analogy that when there's a fire alarm on the board, you go and check out what's going on. But I also believe that when your ship is taking on water, you're not worried about buying new furniture for the ship. And I think, unfortunately, asking this town to invest $405,000 in a study we know is going to create a significant capital need, whether it's a new build, whether it's a renovation, whether it's a renovation with an addition, we know that there's going to be a significant need request of our town. And just to be clear, Scott Neville said at the Wilmington town meeting, there's actually 2 town meeting presentations for this project. One is tonight, the feasibility study. If that gets approved, in a few years, we're going to be asked to spend millions of dollars on a new build. If we vote that down in a few years, we're actually setting this project back by a significant period of time. If we vote the feasibility study down tonight, yes, it's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be new applications. It's probably going to take a few years to get back in the pipeline. But hopefully in those few years, the Shawshene Tech House will be in order. And that's what the students of Shawshene Tech deserve. We're not taking anything away from them. We're asking the people who are there every day, who are supposed to be governing the school, to do their job.
Thank you. Now, at this point, I'm going to move the question on Article 24. Seeing as we've had a fair bit of debate, I do want to go to a standing vote at this time. We'll see if we need to count it. All those, and we're going to do it reverse order. So, all those opposed to the adoption of Article 24 as amended, please stand and be counted at this time. This is opposed to the adoption of Article 24 as amended. This is if you are opposed to the adoption of the article. I'm sorry, this is the adoption of the article as amended. So if you want to adopt, if you are against the adoption of the Article 24, which is to see if the town of Tewksbury will vote to transfer and appropriate $405,000. If the counter could just hold off for a minute until I can get through the explanation. If there are anyone opposed to the adoption of this article, please stand and be counted at this time.
We're redoing it, just to be clear.
Okay. Sorry.
The easiest way to say it is, do you support the Finance Committee recommendation or not?
No. The Finance Committee did not move the question. They did not move to adopt. That was the Shawshene School Committee. Now, typically, the Finance Committee does make the initial motion on each article, but in this case, Ms. Muse moved to adopt. So the question is whether or not we're going to adopt this article. If you are opposed, if you are against this article, please stand again and be counted. We're resetting the votes. The counters will go back out. If you are against the adoption of this article, please stand at this time so the counters can go count one more time. Okay. All those in favor of the adoption of Article 24 as amended, if you are in favor of the adoption, please stand and be counted at this time. Special thanks to all the counters. Much appreciated. Okay, thank you. With a vote count of 35 in favor to 31 opposed, Article 24, as amended, is adopted. Article 25. Article 25 is a citizen's petition. Would the petitioner or their representative care to address the assembly? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. For the record, David Plunkett, 257 Fisk Street. I am the petitioner in this article. This is the grant of an easement to the town of Tewksbury for a sidewalk that's in front of the development at 2131 Main Street. As part of the process of getting the approval for that development, the developer created a plan which showed a sidewalk going across the entire front of Main Street for the parcel, and that was part and parcel of the obligation of the permit. The plan has been submitted to the town. The town engineer has reviewed. We have an agreed upon format of the grant of the easement itself. And at this point, we're just looking for the town meeting to approve the grant of this easement to the town of Tewksbury in conformance with the approval for the development itself. And I would move that the town meeting adopt this article.
Thank you, Mr. Plunkett. Any discussion or debate on Article 25? All those in favor of the adoption of Article 25, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Article 25 is adopted unanimously. Articles 326, 327, 328 were resolved at the beginning of the meeting. This concludes the agenda for this evening's annual town meeting. I want to thank the media and custodial staff at Tewksbury Memorial High School for their efforts in preparing the hall and televising the meeting. I would like to thank the town clerk, Denise Graffio, the checkers, counters, and police officers on duty for their work before and during the meeting, and all of you for continuing Tewksbury's long tradition of open government. My thanks to the town manager, town council, the finance committee, and everyone else who has helped to prepare for and manage this town meeting. A reminder that the special town meeting will be held this Wednesday, May 6th at 7:00 p.m. here at the Tewksbury Memorial High School. Please join us. Mr. Lavasser, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Moderator, Finance Committee moves to adjourn.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of adjournment, sine die, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The meeting is concluded.